This is your number one source for all things comics, movies, and pop culture. It's Geek Week with Chris and Nick.
And you're tuned into Geek Week.
I'm Kristen Talley.
And I'm Nick Rotundo. With Easter break starting today for our school, we decided, we'll start our show a little bit earlier than our normal time at 6 p.m. So, to all those listening, thank you for joining our discussion.
If you guys like to hear any of our old episodes, be sure to check out our YouTube account, which is posted on our Facebook account at www.facebook.com/geekweek885. And be sure to check out our Instagram at geekweek885.
And now, as always, we bring you Dave's Picks of the Week. Dave is the owner of Comics on the Green in Scranton. If you are ever in the area, be sure to stop in. They have a great selection of back issues, graphic novels, action figures, and so much more. So, Chris, take it away.
All right, so the first pick, and this is like sort of surprising to me, it was Old Man Logan number 21, and Dave commented on this, and he said he kind of wants to get back into Wolverine, and he misses him, and this might encourage him to do so, getting back into this issue. It's written by Jeff Lemire and drawn by Eric Nguyen. And the description reads, "The epic past lives saga begins here. An instant classic for the critically acclaimed series. Follow Logan through the ages in the 1800s as a young mutant, to his first encounter with the Hulk, to his stint with the X-Men as Wolverine. It's all here. Old Man Logan is accidentally sent spiraling through his own past and forced to relive some of his most tragic and intense moments. Will he be able to free himself from these living memories? And will he ever return to the wastelands and the young baby Hulk he left behind?"
Ooh.
This all right. Let me guys tell you, Jeff Lemire was definitely one of my top writers. I mean, I don't know if I talked about him in our artist/writers thing, but if I didn't mention him, check him out, because guys, he's very underrated in my opinion. I don't hear many people talking about him, and his writing speaks for itself. So on to the next pick, 7 to Eternity number 5. It's by Image Comics. It's a new story arc after almost a 4-month break. Their issue number 4 was released in December. Writer Rick Remender, artist Jerome Opena. In case you've never heard of this series, I'm just going to give you a description of the volume number 1 of it. It's issues 1 through 4, so this is just, you're able to kind of catch on here. The God of Whispers has spread an omnipresent paranoia to every corner of the kingdom of Zal. His spies hide in every hall, spreading mistrust and fear. Adam Osiris, a dying knight from a disgraced house, must choose between joining a hopeless band of magic users in their desperate bid to free their world of the evil god, or accepting his promise to give Adam everything his heart desires. Writer Rick Remender reteams with collaborators Jerome Opena, who did Uncanny X-Force, Fear Agent, and Matt Hollingsworth, who did Tokyo Ghost and Witches, to take you on a hard road through the strange fantasy world of Zal. All men have surrendered their freedom for fear. Now one last free man must choose. I'm not going to lie, this sounds amazing and really epic.
Oh, yeah.
It was, as soon as I read the description, I was like, wow, Image does some stuff that I've never heard of. I like their variety of stories that they give you. And speaking of, this next pick is also Image Comics. Green Valley number 7 out of 9. It's a 9-issue miniseries. Dave highly recommended this series. He said that it took twists and turns that he really didn't expect to happen. So basically, the characters of the Knights of Colodia, they ride as one. They crush evil wherever it stands, to hell with dragons, to hell with wizards. Freedom for Green Valley. Guys, I read the first issue of this, and I was pretty much taken away, and I just wanted to read more. And when I went back to Dave's, they were sold out. So it's a pretty interesting series. I would recommend picking up the trade when it comes out for sure.
Yeah, independent labels are really starting to come up out of nowhere.
I really enjoy them. I think I'm starting to read more independent than actual superhero like DC Marvel stuff, And as much as I love my DC and my Marvel, independent comics really have a place with people, and people can relate to a lot of their stories. And in some cases, it's just fun, some fun stories. So, yeah, definitely recommend checking those picks out, because, Dave is a solid choice for comics. So, gotta say that. Sorry, Dave.
So yeah, I think with that, I think that's gonna be the last time we even talk about comic books in this entire show.
Yeah, this show is new for us, guys. We want to start branching out and getting into different forms of pop culture. And we figured we do a lot about comic book related shows and their culture and things like that. So we want to get outside of our comfort zone. And I mean, Nick was kind of already in his comfort zone with this topic, but I, however, was not. And it was very hard for me to make a list. So we're getting into our top 5 non-comic book related movies. Nick's up, and he has his 5 picks for you right here, also with some honorable mentions. What's up, Nick?
Chris, thank you for that. I will say this: I did number them from 5 to 1. So this is literally going to be my top favorite. Is going to be the last one you hear. So number 5, we have the Rocky series. I mean, what's not to say about Rocky Balboa? It's an underdog story. It's a classic story. I mean, I think it's actually put up in that stuff floating around Earth for if there's ever extraterrestrial life or whatever, like it's just sent out into space, which I thought was really cool. I mean, it's a big Italian movie. I'm Italian, so
so am I.
so the idea of the Italian stallion, he was an underdog, southpaw coming up out of nowhere and finding his way and proving himself, even though he came from nothing. I mean, Sylvester Stallone, hands down, is the man.
You really just use the words Italian stallion.
Yeah, that's his nickname in the movie.
That's fantastic. I had no idea about that. I know the famous scene where he runs up the steps and he's like doing his thing, and it's like the music's building up, and everybody knows that scene. That's so famous.
He's Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion. Yeah. And then, of course, you have Apollo Creed. You have Mr. T, who plays...
I did see Creed.
God.
I did see that movie.
What is Mr. T's character's name? Clubber Lang. That's it. And then you have Ivan Drago for episode 4, where Rocky goes to Russia and fights Drago and almost dies. He stands on top of the mountain. Drago! It's the greatest. It's one of the greatest series I've ever watched, honestly. But going on from there, I mean, Sylvester Stallone is the man. This guy literally had nothing, was a struggling actor. Nobody wanted him because he looked funny and talked funny. Nobody wanted him for anything. So because of that, he was sitting at home, had to sell his dog for $25 so he could afford to, eat and survive.
Wow.
So he was heartbroken. So he's sitting watching one of the most famous fights with Muhammad Ali, and from there sits there and in I think it was 20 hours wrote the script for Rocky and tried to sell it off, trying to sell it to different companies. Pretty much almost everyone wanted a piece of it. They wanted to buy it, but he was like, I'm not selling it unless you put me as Rocky Balboa, and nobody wanted it. So he took a huge price cut, a huge page cut, I should say, and look where it is now. It paid off. I mean, he is Rocky Balboa. There's no way around that. Going into number 4 is another fighting movie, Never Back Down. This movie came out in the early 2000s. I mean, this movie I grew up watching, and it's so underrated. It's an underdog story as well. It's about a kid who moves from, I think it's Iowa, and basically moves to Florida and meets these kids who are into MMA, and the whole society is broken down because he realizes that all these kids in high school with him are in this big fight club, kind of, in a sense, where no laws are going down, nobody, it's all against the law.
I've seen this movie.
This movie's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another underdog story because he's that outsider looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Which we call it, and it's a movie that I watch when I'm feeling down or just not myself, and I'm kind of down in the dumps or just stressed out or something. I put this movie on and it shows you never back down from something. So that's kind of, it has meaning to me.
I know, dude. I'm sorry. I just like how you included the name title in there. It's definitely a great movie. I enjoyed seeing the actor, the kid. He was playing football and somebody said something about his dad. And you find out about what happens with his dad later, but he fights that kid, and then his parent and him and his brother all have to move again. His mom and his little brother have to move with him, and he eventually meets his mentor in the MMA, and that guy was
John Roca.
Yeah, he was pretty awesome. That movie is great. I have seen it multiple times,
and that guy that plays his mentor is actually
in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He fought Peter Quill in the first scene.
Ooh?
Yeah, Star-Lord. Yeah, it was great.
So funny stuff there. But then also number 3. I mean, this is a big one for me. We're getting the top 3 right here. This is what makes me me. So number 3, I'm wearing the hat today for him. Kevin Smith's Clerks movie. I mean, I watched this movie, years ago. This had to be like maybe summer before senior year of high school or something. I knew he was from Jersey, Kevin Smith. I knew he's from New Jersey, and I knew, he came from like an average life, changed the industry completely of movies. Like, he made that like real first vulgar comedy. So like, movies like We're the Millers, the Scary Movie, stuff like that. None of that would have existed if it wasn't for Kevin Smith's Clerks franchise. So in my opinion, at least, I mean, he came from nothing to like, he sold like half of his comic book collection, had money from, a flood that gave him money for his car that was ruined. And he used that all to make Clerks. And it was in black and white because he couldn't afford color back then. And he filmed it in the place that he worked. He worked at a Quick Stop in Parlin, New Jersey.
That's where I live, guys, by the way.
So I've visited the Quick Stop myself, took pictures there, walked inside and everything. The place is very small. You wouldn't think so when you're watching the movie, but it's actually a lot smaller than you think. But it's hilarious because, like, that to me is like almost sacred ground. Like, Kevin Smith is probably one of the main reasons why I fell in love with my major, becoming a mass communication student, because like Kevin Smith, I want to be able to change the industry. I want to, make movies, make TV shows, or work on the radio, do something that I love and pursue my dreams.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't a huge fan of Kevin Smith for a little bit, but I did read his Quiver series, and I do appreciate the guy's writing, and I did like it. I enjoyed it a lot. I also went to his store, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, and I got his book. It's I can't say the title of it because there's a curse in it, but the second part of it's just like life advice from a fat, lazy slob who did good. Like,
I have that one too.
And I read that book, and it's cool because he shows his interaction with Bruce Willis and when filming, I think Live Free or Die Hard or something like that, and it shows. He just kind of gives his own recap of like how he feels about people, and it's funny because the way he talks about himself, his I think his wife, and like just it's great. Yeah,
he's a very vulgar person, and it's just the way it is. Like, honestly, the way he is vulgar is just kind of revolutionary in my opinion.
I like him on Comic Book Man as well. I
do
enjoy that show. That show never gets old for me. Because like there's nobody's ever doing that. It's like their own unique show, and I do enjoy just kind of sitting down and like having it on the background, just listening to what's going on. So Nick, what's your second pick?
So number 2, laugh as many times as you want, guys. My childhood movie that I had to watch at least once a day, otherwise I would have a hissy fit. Before I moved to Jersey when I was living in New York, Toy Story. So the Toy Story series is my number 2 choice. I mean. This is my childhood. I grew up, I had Buzz and Woody pretty much everywhere with me. I remember in Toy Story 3, I went to the movie theater with my family to go see it because, this movie, this franchise was so meaningful to, like, at least me and definitely my parents. And so, of course, the fire scene where they're going into, like, the garbage chute, I got all emotional. And then, of course, at the end when... Andy hands the toys over to Bonnie and introduces each of the toys. This is Buzz Lightyear. He's a space ranger. This is Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. They fight all the time, but they love each other. and I just got really emotional with that. Because,
Woody, Bullseye, Jesse.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's great.
And, of course, I look over at my mom, and she's bawling her eyes out going, oh, my God, that's Nick. I was like, oh, my God, Mom. So, Mom, if you listen to this, I apologize for calling you out on that. But, it's something that means something to me. Toy Story. Hey, you got a friend in me. That song will always have meaning to me.
It is a classic, I gotta say.
And unfortunately, big announcement that they're going to do a Toy Story 4. I'm not sure how they're going to pull that off because of the fact that, Andy's at college and, the toys are with Bonnie now. So I guess it'd be a story with Bonnie. But honestly, I mean, like 3 was a great way to end it.
Yeah.
If you want to continue, fine by me, as long as it's done well.
I would have left it alone after 3, but I can understand why they're revisiting it because it's a popular franchise.
Oh yeah, of course.
Kids love it. I loved it when I was younger too. You don't have to feel bad for putting this as your second pick because like I love this as well. I watch this all the time. I had the movies on VHS. Like, I also watched Small Soldiers too. Like that's another action figure movie. Yeah,
I remember that.
It's
show.
on Netflix too. So
yeah, I remember that movie.
It's a classic. These are classics that we grew up with and we love. So completely understandable.
And unfortunately, because Toy Story 4, unfortunately, we have to give a big shout out. Rest in peace, Don Rickles. Unfortunately, he was unable to record his Mr. Potato Head voiceover for the movie for Toy Story 4 before he passed away. But overall, I mean, that guy, Don Rickles, man. He's funny. He knows how to just dig that knife a little bit deeper if he's messing with you. And, I mean, he is Mr. Potato Head. Mm-hmm. I mean, we lost also the guy that did the voice for Slinky years back, and they had someone else do the voice for Slinky, and it sounded very similar. I mean, I'm sure if, like, you really listen, you can tell the difference, but I just don't know how they're going to pull it off doing... without Don Rickles, whether it's, pre-recorded stuff from other movies or they get somebody else, but that's going to be tough, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, rest in peace, Don Rickles. That Mr. Potato Head was hilarious. I used to have him and like be able to make him and his faces and different stuff. Yep. I love that. So it was just so much fun as a kid, just playing with that toy and everything.
I'm a Picasso.
So what's your number one? Let's get down to it.
The number one choice. Well, this movie has a lot of meaning to me because there's a lot of family memories with the movie. It's another Italian movie, and I actually asked my roommate and also Chris this a while back, and I said, what do you think my number one movie overall is? Even with comics included, this one still beats out everything, and no one was able to guess it. So, I mean, this movie has so much meaning to me and my family because of the fact of the lines in it. It's a New York movie. It's A Bronx Tale. That movie, man, Robert De Niro, Chaz Palminteri, who, in fact, my good buddy Nick Magarelli from back home is his cousin, apparently. So I remember years after being friends with him, he tells me that. I was like, are you serious? I was like, dude, that's nuts. And then, of course, my next-door neighbor from back home, Alfred Saucelli, is in the movie as well. He's an extra. So the part in the scene where they're in the basement playing dice, and basically the guys that are sweating on top of Chaz Palminteri's character Sonny, he goes, throw him in the bathroom or whatever. You see Alfred Saucelli grab him and throw him into the bathroom. And I mean, he was also in Analyze This and Analyze That with Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro. He was I think it's Mr. Magoo or Mr. Moo or something like that. I forget the name of it, but he's hilarious, my neighbor. He's the best. And, of course, he has those big Italian parties during the summer, and, some celebrities pop up every now and then. But it's hilarious. I mean, like, this movie to me is, like, what it meant to be, family-oriented in the Italian sense. Like, Robert De Niro's quote in this will always live with me forever. It's a quote that I always say with my dad and my grandfather before he passed away. We'd flip the sign that Sonny makes, which is the thumb, index, and pinky finger out, almost like a sideways Spider-Man, and he'd say, "See you, Sonny," but the line would be, "The saddest thing in life is wasted talent," and that'll always stick with me.
I've actually never seen A Bronx Tale, and I'm going to come out and say that. And I like Robert De Niro. I definitely want to check that out. It sounds like a movie I'd be interested in for sure. And that's awesome that you have that family connection with that kind of movie. That's great when you find that connection, because I have another one in my list with my grandfather, and like I could relate to having that connection with a movie that really just sits with you well. So,
oh yeah, definitely, awesome, dude. I mean, I think overall that movie, hands down, will always be my favorite. But of course, we have those honorable mentions before we get to that music break. So honorable mention wise, we have two. One of them's kind of your honorable mention as well. Mm-hmm. But one of them, because I knew you were going to put it in there, I didn't know if it was going to be on your list or your honorable mention, so I kind of let you take that one. But John Wick, I mean, that movie, hands down, dude.
Keanu Reeves is amazing, and like as much as like the Matrix movies are cool, but seeing him in that kind of role as like this guy who's
realistic,
he loses like pretty much everything. Like his wife passes away, and eventually like he loses something dear to him. And I'm not going to say what because people will get upset, but
the nickname Baba Yaga,
the fight scenes in this movie, the action scenes, like you can't even be mad. Like I don't even like. I left this because I was like, I don't know if it's gonna be good. Is this gonna be like a, another one of those action movies that just kind of like they put out and it's gonna be like bad and
like
just kind of falls to the wayside?
Speed, this, that, like the amount of movies he's been in. But
yeah,
honestly, I have to admit, he gets a bad rep because he played Bill and Ted. He was Bill S. Preston Esquire. So in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, so he gets that like bad rep of like that dopey like stoner character. But you know what? Every movie he's been in has pretty much been good,
except for Neon Demon. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
That's a terrible. Guys, do not see Neon Demon. It was so terrible. There was so much. There was just oh god, I can't even tell you how disgusted I was. I literally almost walked out of the movie. It was pretty bad. But anyway, back to John Wick. Really liked it. Really appreciate it. I mean, I haven't seen the second one, but really want to.
The second one was fantastic.
Awesome time over break to watch this because I really want to. Everybody's been telling me, but I did really well with John Wick. I won't talk about it in my honorable mention since we're talking about it right now. But that movie, go check that out if you have some time, guys.
Yeah, and then the other honorable mention I had was Mad Max Fury Road. Now, a lot of you guys, whether you're older or you like the classics, how do you go away from Mel Gibson as Mad Max? I mean, look, I barely watched that series. I did like later on. I started to watch them, and yeah, they're good. I mean, we don't want to talk about Thunderdome and stuff like that, but let's be honest. I mean, this is a whole new take on it. The way Tom Hardy plays Mad Max is fantastic. I mean, yeah, should there have been a little bit more dialogue? Maybe, but you know what? The costuming, fantastic. The way they did the trucks and the cars and made them all like post-apocalyptic, amazing. The effects, the sound effects, the graphics, everything. The score, hands down, I think that was my favorite. Like, the score just gave it a whole new feel.
The music in that movie was phenomenal, and I will say that. I did enjoy the movie. This is just me having some gripes with it. I wanted to hear more from Tom Hardy's character. They didn't give him any lines, and that was like one of the few things I was like, I just want to see. He was completely like badass. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah,
like he was awesome, but I wanted to hear more from him. I really also liked. I think Charlize Theron's character of Furiosa. She was cool. Like she was awesome, and overall the movie was just so intense. I gotta say, there's so much happening at once, and overall. Definitely go see that, guys. Check it out and, see for yourselves.
Yeah, I know they're supposed to be making some sort of a sequel. I don't know if it's going to be with Furiosa mainly, or they're not going to use Furiosa. It was back and forth between those two, but I believe Tom Hardy's back for it. So I'm excited for it.
I like the continuity of that.
Yeah.
I like when movies continue with the same actors. That's just, to me, that works.
But so with that, those are our honorable mentions for the first half. So up next, we are going to get into Chris's top 5 non-comic book related movies. So, Chris, why don't you take it away from here?
All right, so just from the song you just heard, guys, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. These are in no order, by the way. This is just my favorite 5 movies. It was released on December 2nd, 1988. I used to watch this with my grandfather back in the day. It was one of his favorite movies, and it became one of mine after he passed away. Still holds a place in my heart. Leslie Nielsen's hilarious in this movie, and it's just so good. I really liked the way that they did kind of like a police, kind of like a messed up cop kind of thing. I really enjoyed that. And so basically, Nielsen plays an incompetent police detective, Frank Drebin, and he has to foil an attempt of an assassination of Queen Elizabeth II. And just the scenes in it. My grandfather and I watched one scene where he drove up to a dock, a fishing dock, and a guy was fishing, and he hit the guy while he's fishing just off the dock, and literally gets out of the car, doesn't go to check on the guy, just walks away. And it's just like things like that. My grandpa's hearty laugh it just stays in my heart and my memories, Also, rest in peace to Nielsen. He died November 28, 2010 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's such a classic. Like, anytime I saw him in a movie, I was like, this guy, it's going to be a funny scene, you know?
Yeah, the Naked Gun series, I mean, Airplane.
Airplane was a good one, too. Love that.
It's just, it's such a sad moment when, like, movies that you love, you lose, like, the person that played them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, it's good to look at this in a way of, like, not just losing someone, but, always holding that memory in your heart and always holding that memory in your, like, mind. Just the times that you watch this movie. And I've watched this movie several times with my grandfather. So it'll always be there. And I'm sure I'll watch it someday with my kids as well. Going to get into the second pick that I have here. And you guys all know this. And if you don't, you should probably go sit down and watch it. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Released on May 21st, 1980. And I just want to give you guys a brief description on it. This is from IMDb. After the rebels have been brutally overpowered by the Empire on their newly established base, Luke Skywalker takes advanced Jedi training with Master Yoda while his friends are pursued by Darth Vader as part of his plan to capture Luke. Just so you guys know, Darth Vader is one of my favorite villains of all time and one of the best in my opinion. For me, as far as Jedi. For me, as Star Wars characters goes, I would put him right under Darth Maul for me because Darth Maul holds a super special place in my heart. And
Underrated.
this movie is where Luke Skywalker confronts Darth Vader, and it's the famous "I am your father" scene. That scene is so iconic, and you can go far and wide without like meeting somebody who doesn't know about that particular scene in general. First time I saw this, it sent chills up my spine because I was like, wow. At first, when these movies first come out in 4, 5, 6, you have no idea who Vader is. You have no idea. He's this monster in a mask who uses the Force and has a red lightsaber. And there's so much mystery behind him. And eventually, you get the really not so great prequels, and they eventually show you Anakin's story. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the first one, Phantom Menace, even though Darth Maul was the only savior of that movie, in my opinion, because other than that, the movie would have been just a loss. And the Clone Wars, it wasn't so bad. I like seeing Yoda and Count Dooku, but as far as favorite of the prequels, it's the third one, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, without a doubt.
Seeing Anakin's transcendence to Darth Vader, seeing what he went through, what had to happen to him in order to put on the black suit and the mask. Wow.
And of course, I will say this first. If you're going to watch the Star Wars series, if you're going to watch it for the first time or you're trying to introduce, whether it's your kid or just anybody that's never seen it before, if you're going to introduce them, watch them in this order, in my opinion. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then 6.
That's an interesting order. I've heard like watching these movies in a couple different orders, and some of these orders really interest me, and I haven't tried them yet, but I want to. I definitely recommend, for me, I would just watch them in the order they came out, but that's just my own, I haven't thought of how to watch them in different orders, but 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, just so you kind of get that mystery of who Darth Vader is. And, I mean, you're going to find out in the end, obviously, of 6, but it's just cool to see that whole thing just unveil. I'm going to get into my next pick, Disturbia. This is with Shia LaBeouf in it, and some people may not. You guys are gonna know him from the "Just Do It" memes and everything
Do it.
Yeah, pretty much everything like that, and the Transformers movies,
or as I like to call him, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, well. Anyway, this was released on April 13th in 2007. I was 15 when I was watching this, and I really related to it. Just to read the IMDb description, just so you guys have an idea of what it is. A teen living under house arrest becomes convinced his neighbor is a serial killer. It was such a simple concept to me for a movie, and I thought it was done well. And it, to me, still holds up to this day. It had elements of, comedy, romance, thriller, drama, and horror all combined into one. And it just gave you that feeling of this is what would happen if somebody was like a teenager living next door to a serial killer. This is like literally the steps that it would take. He had the goofy friend. He had the girl who moved in next door, like the Mary Jane character, if you will. And, eventually that progresses, and it's just cool to see it, and I just really enjoyed it. Like, it's just a movie I could just throw on whenever I feel like it, and don't have to think too hard about it.
The idea, though, that this movie came out in 2007, and yet I feel like the technology almost, there's advances, but almost holds up to modern day. Like, the idea that I'm going to use camcorders to record him and make sure everything's all cool, put out cameras to check out what's going on. He had an Xbox. I think it was either an Xbox or an Xbox 360 that he was playing.
Yeah, he did have an Xbox.
So like it was hilarious to see like all these different things that was going on. Like he had was it a flip phone? Do you have a flip phone?
Something like that.
Yeah,
phone. I also had I'm pretty sure I also had a flip phone back in the day. So like this, like really, I related to this, and that's why it's on my top 5 because it just related so much to me as a teenager. Yeah,
I enjoyed that movie a lot too.
So the next pick I'm going to get into more of going back to the sci-fi. Alien, released on May 25th, 1979. In case you guys don't know what this movie is, and if you haven't seen it, please go sit down and watch it, even if like horror kind of thriller isn't your thing. So the IMDb description reads, after a space merchant vessel, Nostromo, perceives an unknown transmission as a distress call, their landing on the source moon finds one of the crew attacked by a mysterious life form, and soon they realize that its life cycle has merely begun. So, just to revisiting this, I watched Chris Stuckman, great movie reviewer, his review on Alien, and I like agreed with a lot of his opinions that he made. He made a lot of good opinions that I had previously, said, wow, this I definitely agree with this. So in this movie, you care for each individual character, and there's like a main character that's not specified until later, which is Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, and I thought that was great because they made you care for each character on that ship.
Oh yeah, it was more of like a team bonding movie.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. And another thing this movie does well is that it doesn't reveal the alien right away, and its presence is there throughout the movie. And there is one scene that Chris Stuckman, said like this is what just I love this scene completely. And it's one of the guys, I can't remember his name. There was an encounter with the alien, and he just says, "It's big," and like that's it. You know nothing else. There's no other specific details of that. And like he was in such shock. Like these actors were great. Like they really like.
Oh yeah!
Wow.
And the chestburster scene was actually like all of their reactions were real. They didn't tell the cast members.
That's like amazing. That's the best reaction you want to see in a film because like that's natural.
One of the women actually passed out.
But that's fantastic. Like, you get that on film. That's a great scene to me. Like when you capture real life emotion.
Oh yeah.
And also just to say how good this movie was. Apparently later on, obviously 2014, Alien Isolation was released onto consoles and for the computer and was inspired by this movie. And even though it's not the story of Ellen Ripley, it does take place 15 years after what happened in the Alien movie, and it follows her daughter, Amanda, who's investigating the disappearance of her mother. There's only one alien on this ship and her, and you have to survive, and you have to get out before it's too late, before it finds you. And you have to work around, and it's such a cool. Like, I've been wanting to play this for so long. I've seen playthroughs because I just don't. Unfortunately, I don't have the money, but I'd love to get this eventually because this game sounds amazing. And I'm going to go on to my last pick. It's not obviously this is not in any order, guys, but this also stuck really close to me. Peter Jackson's King Kong. Released December 5th, 2005. Just in case you guys don't know who King Kong is, and if you don't, wow, because King Kong is a pop culture icon as well as Godzilla and other things like that. Like, those are just, to me, the big monsters are, who they are. You should. And if you don't, well, sorry. So the description reads, a movie crew traveling to a mysterious island to shoot their picture encounter a furious gorilla. He's not just any gorilla, by the way. He's huge. Taking their leading actress and forming a special relationship with her, protecting her at all costs. I watched the original recently, released on March 7th in 1933, and really enjoyed it. I appreciated the inspirations that Peter Jackson took from the movie, and I really felt like he made it his own. I liked it in that sense. I think it still gave nod to the original, but he just took some things and changed them around. I didn't mind it because there were slight changes.
Now, did you see the new Kong Skull Island?
I want to see it so bad. I think I'm going to do it over break. Cause,
I heard there's at least one or two references to Peter Jackson.
That's awesome. I think that's great. And I heard, I think we were looking up Tom Derenick's Facebook and we saw him talk about it. He said that to him, like, he liked Godzilla, the newer Godzilla, but like he liked King Kong because there was more fights with King Kong. And that's what you want to see. Like, like, I love this movie so much, like, guys, that I bought the game for Xbox 360, and it's called the official game of the movie. I know what you're thinking, guys. Chris, you know better. Like, why would you play a movie game and that they never turn out well? Well, you're wrong, because I enjoyed so much of that. I loved, there was a dinosaur fight scene in it, and they were amazing. You got to, like, snap the dinosaur's neck and, like, its mouth, the jaw, whatever. It was fantastic. It was really, dude, I was so into it. I wasn't a big fan of playing as the actual, like, people, that, like, the human beings in it or whatever, but I was big on being Kong, because Kong was just great. My favorite scenes in the movie, though, Kong's fight with the dinosaurs. Like, my gosh, like, seeing him, like, you know,
snap the dinosaur's jaw.
Yeah, and screaming, and all of a sudden you see Kong just fly out of the trees and hit the ground, and like, something's gonna go down here, and it's gonna be great. And you know, I will say, just as like a little nitpick in my opinion, because like I love strong female characters in books, and I think there should be more of them. Because there've been a lot of male characters that are like obviously strong and independent, but like I am not a big fan of the damsel in distress stereotype, and I know that's the biggest, like, you know, that's pretty much Kong's thing, and that's just something I didn't like about it. You know, I understand that Kong loves Anne, and like if you reference Jack Black's character Carl Denham's quote, it said it was beauty that killed the beast. I do enjoy that quote. But her character, her only purpose seems for like romance and being a damsel, and I get she's an actress and everything, but I feel like she could have portrayed a little like more strongly as a female character, held her own a little bit instead of always having to be rescued and stuff by I think Driscoll, who was like her counterpart. I think
that's Adrian Brody, right?
Yeah, Adrian Brody, and that was like, I think, and that's just me being kind of a pro-feminist in that like kind of thing. And I will say the other part that I liked about this is like this idea of civilization versus nature, like people coming from a city and going to an island they know nothing about, they don't know what's there, and capturing Kong. Nature's going to triumph. Like, you don't disturb nature will come back, and that's what eventually happens. Like, Kong causes havoc in the city, and eventually they have a big gorilla like dead on the ground in the middle of, like, right next to the Empire State Building, and like people are like, what is going on? Like, this is why you never like mess with nature, guys. Just saying.
I've seen everything in New York, but that I have never seen.
And so one of the famous scene, like I just talked about, the famous scene of King Kong is him on the Empire State Building fighting planes before he's shot down. To me, obviously in the first movie, we didn't have the technology. In 1933, we didn't have the technology to make, but in this movie, this airplane fight scene, whatever you want to call it, Kong like jumps up and smashes one of them, and it's such a cool, like, I love his design in this. I've told Nick this before.
That big scar.
I like the scar. It shows that he's been through a lot. He's had to survive in that island of his, Skull Island, and just do his thing in order to survive. And the scars prove it, whether it's from dinosaurs or something else. It's just wow, guys. Big monster fan right here. Obviously now
because of that. They're talking a lot about, building up the franchise of the monsters, bringing in
Godzilla and King Kong.
King Kong facing each other along with a bunch of other monsters. Would you be willing to jump in on this if it was going to happen? Video game of, big monsters.
Yep, sold. I already
Kong
played
versus Godzilla, all that stuff.
I actually had a GameCube game. It's called Godzilla Monsters Unleashed, and it was like you could choose characters to fight in a city, and you could be Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, anything like that. King Ghidorah, who's Godzilla's like arch nemesis, so to speak, and I love that game. So seeing King Kong versus Godzilla in a game, dude, like just take my money, please. Like, especially if you make the combat system really fun, like they did for that GameCube game back then. Just do it. Like, that's all I gotta say. You just have my money. Just take my wallet and just run with it, because that's pretty much what's gonna happen anyway. Going into the honorable mentions, I'm not gonna mention John Wick is one of them, but we talked about that before. You know how I feel about that. Another one is Inception. Nick's not a big fan of this, and right now he's giving me a nice look right now. I just thought that the movie made you really think a lot. It had a lot of really good actors in it. Personally, like, I think is Tom Hardy in there, and there's a couple other people in there that I really just enjoyed. I think Ellen Page was in there as well.
Leo.
Yeah, I think that movie is underrated, and I really enjoyed it. It made you think, and I feel like the movie Doctor Strange kind of was inspired by some stuff that happened in that movie, just from when he got transcended into the other realm of I can't think of the name of it. It's Astral Plane. There you go. I just like how the cities all folded on each other. It reminded me of Inception a lot.
Yeah, I think some effects were probably taken from that. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. the effects were amazing. You know, like let's rotate the entire room and have people walk on the walls because of that and everything. That was fantastic. But it was just the idea, like the storyline just did not do it for me. What's funny is there's this whole big fan theory that like Leonardo DiCaprio in all of his movies keeps dying in water or whatever and wakes up on the shore. So like the Titanic, he dies in the ocean, and then Inception starts off or whatever with him waking up on a beach out of the water. It's like we're starting a new life or something. It was really weird.
That's interesting to me. I mean, dude, the concept, you talk about the story, and I'm like,
I mean, let's spin the thing. Did it really fall, or is he in a dream still, or is he in limbo, or his wife is there because why not?
I don't know. Like, just reading the IMDb thing right now, a thief who steals corporate secrets, though the use of dream sharing technology is given the inverse task of planning an idea into the mind of a CEO. I don't know. It just sounds so sick to me. And I understand everybody has, you know, they're like, they like some movies, they don't like some movies. And I get that you're not a fan, and like, I'm a fan. That's fine. But to me, it just sounded like a different idea. And I like Christopher Nolan's direction. I like the Dark Knight trilogy. I like enjoyed that for what it was. And Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies. Obviously I couldn't talk about it on this list because, you know, it's a comic related movie. So I didn't. But yeah. Just then going to my next pick, this is Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the original Predator, guys.
Yeah.
This was an awesome movie. Like, and I was going back and forth between Alien and Predator. I don't know about the movies that came out after these, honestly. But I did enjoy these originals, and I've watched Predator so many times. Like, I'll catch it on TNT or something, and it'll be like in the middle of the movie, and I'll continue to watch it because I already knew what happened previously. And the Predator is such a cool, like, alien monster thing. Like, it's so sick. Like,
favorite scene from the movie?
My favorite scene. Oh man, that's a good question, Nick. I'm gonna say that I really enjoyed the confrontation at the end with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Get to the chopper.
And that famous line, "Get to the chopper." Like, oh my gosh, dude.
I think that's probably one of my favorites when like he's holding, like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna blow you up, and the Predator starts laughing. But
it was freaky a little bit.
But my other favorite, which is so cheesy and corny, I know Chris is gonna give me a face for it. It's when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, who also is Apollo Creed, and little known fact, actually played for the Oakland Raiders as well. He was a football player.
Random facts brought to you by Nick Rotundo.
Yes. but, so they're together. They're like, I don't know. I think they're like sleeveless and they're just covered in oil. And he goes, "You son of a bee!" And they give each other a high five with their big muscles. And it's just hilarious for no reason.
There's nothing wrong with that. I honestly don't mind that. I like seeing like fun relationships like that where it's like we've been through hell and back, but we're still brothers. Like, it's like I love seeing that kind of stuff. So Nick, you actually didn't get a bad look for me at that one because
I'll applaud myself for that.
I did
pat on the back.
I did enjoy that scene. But yeah, those guys. If I could think of any more, I would give you some more honorable mentions. But that's all I got out of that list. And
well, how about this, Chris? Alien. Your favorite quote from there was that the "It's big"?
See. This is tough because I haven't seen this movie in a long time. It's been a while, and yeah, you're probably like, "Oh, but it makes your top 5." It does because I've seen it a few times before, and it's just, you know, school gets busy, and
well, yeah,
it's hard to pick out a quote. I'm very bad at quotes. Like the quote that guy said saying "it's big," that was pretty awesome, and I don't want to take Chris Stuckman's choice of like quoting that, so I'll just say that I don't have one for right now. But you know, maybe I'll get back to you guys on that. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I know for me at least, like I think I've watched it like here or there, like bits and pieces throughout, like, you know, time. But God, was that 2 years ago? Was that 2 years ago? I had that horror films class. I think so.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. I had a class here at King's with a professor that actually has a show here on WRKC, and it was a horror films class. At the end, we get to make our own horror film and use some of the key like lessons we learned from each movie that we watched. So we watched like the original War of the Worlds, and we watched Alien actually too, and we talked about, you know, that final girl, the idea that like it's a woman who comes out triumphant on top and she's alone, and you know it's called the final girl scenario, and I thought that was really cool. And of course my favorite line I think from this movie is I forget the guy's name. I think it's the one with the headband. and he's just looking, and he sees like one of his buddies get eaten or something, and he goes, "Game over, man! Game over!"
I actually remember that quote. That's pretty funny. There's just, I don't know. This movie was great.
Sigourney Weaver overall.
Yeah,
man.
Ripley. Her like last lines are pretty interesting. I just pulled them up on IMDb because I was like, why not? She says, final report of the commercial starship Nostromo, third officer reporting. The other members of the crew, Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in about 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That, like, I don't know. She's just a really cool character in this, and I didn't know like, when I first watched this, obviously, like how Chris Stuckman said, you don't know who the main character is. I didn't really know who was going to be it until things started happening. But then you see Sigourney Weaver, like Ellen Ripley, start to make decisions or start to think more, and they start focusing more on her. And I liked how the movie did that to me. You don't know the main character immediately, and it makes you wonder who's going to be it. And I love the mystery to that.
So, out of the top 5, of your top 5 movies, if you had to be the main character of one of these movies, who would you be?
Dude, you are with you're with the questions, like oh my gosh.
They're just popping in my head, man.
I know. If I had to be one of these characters, I'm going to go with Leslie Nielsen's character in Naked Gun. I just feel like I'm such a goofball for me to be taken seriously in a movie. It just wouldn't make sense. I don't even know if I could be in a serious movie because I laugh at everything. But like, I could never replace Leslie Nielsen. Let me just say that.
Oh yeah,
he was great.
Unfortunately,
I would just love to be in the shoes of him because just to see how that all unfolds.
Unfortunately, there's rumors there could be a reboot with Ed Helms doing it again.
Ooh,
I know
about reboots. Reboots scare.
Well, you know how I feel about reboots.
Yeah, they scare me. I'm not really. I'm open-minded to them, but at the same time, like, it's like, why would you touch a classic?
It depends on the series.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, let's reboot Batman or Spider-Man. Fine by me. Let's do it as long as it's done well. But if you're gonna reboot, like, I don't know,
classics.
Airplane,
some classics just shouldn't be touched at all.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line. For me, I think. Ooh, Bronx Tale, Toy Story, Clerks, Never Back Down, and Rocky. I don't know who I would pick. I'd either do Clerks just because I'm such a huge Kevin Smith fan, so it would be fun to interact with him. That or Toy Story because, I mean, just imagine either being Andy or a toy and being able to, like, you know, look at yourself like you're a toy. You can basically do whatever. And, like, just being able to, like, you know, interact with all the whole room, everything. Everything's huge compared to you. Looking at the other ones, I'm like, do I really want to get beat up as Rocky or the kid from Never Back Down?
Would you be Andy or would you be a toy in the movie?
Oh, see, that's tough. See, Andy's got it going for him. I mean, what wrong has happened to him?
Besides, well,
nothing.
Yeah,
Literally nothing.
Nothing at all.
He went to college.
Yeah.
Whereas the toys, it's like Andy lost an arm, or Woody lost an arm. Buzz Lightyear got rebooted. He got stuck in a box because the other Buzz Lightyear tied him up there in Toy Story 2. Woody and Buzz had it out. So maybe I'd be a toy, but I'd be like a secondary toy like Slinky who just doesn't have to do anything.
That actually makes sense. No, I'm terrible. That's terrible. It was funny because I was like thinking in my head.
Sock'em robots.
I was thinking in my head, what character would Nick be from Toy Story? And Slinky's actually the first that popped in my head. But
really?
I didn't want to.
I mean, I'm a dog person, so maybe
Slinky's
that's what it
pretty
is.
cool to me. I think he proves to be useful at times, and so do you. So I mean,
thank you. That's sometimes.
All right. Well, on that note.
Oh man.
My gosh.
Oh man. But yeah, no. I mean, if you had to, how about this? If you had to move one of your honorable mentions up to like a top 6, what would you throw in there?
Ooh.
It'd be between John Wick, Inception, Predator, and mine would also include Fury Road.
I would have to. Oh, that's so tough. Because, you know, I feel like, man, this is actually pretty tough. I'm not going to lie. Let me tell you. I'm going to go with. I'm not going to say Inception. I'm going to say John Wick.
Really? I always thought you were going to say Predator since it was
Predator,
between the two.
to me, and Alien kind of go hand in hand. So I'd put them together on the list. Like, they would just be like, it would be Alien / Predator next to each other so that they just knew they were in the same category. So that's what I did, like in my head. And John Wick would move up because, it's cool to see. I love action scenes. I love any fight scenes. You ask anybody like at all, I go crazy over fight scenes because I like seeing the coordination, how it's done, the stunts pulled, and just wow.
The idea that like Keanu Reeves actually went to, I think it was like, is it a 5-time or 4-time, like whatever it is. He's a world champion in marksman. He uses.
You showed me that video.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick, dude. I love the fact that he has real world experience.
He did his own stunts. He literally Keanu Reeves. Geez, he's become John Wick now.
Hey, that's fine by me.
Literally, Keanu Reeves, I think, did almost all of his own stunts, like shooting wise, going through a gallery. Like shooting gallery and just taking out every single person.
I'm probably gonna
watch every kill. Almost every kill in that movie is a headshot.
I'm probably gonna watch John Wick again before I watch 2, just to get the full experience of it.
You gotta. I think for me, bringing up, you said John Wick. I'll go with Fury Road just because I'm such a music person, and the idea of rebranding a series of like bringing in Tom Hardy to now be Mad Max and the idea that like that score, man, that score.
Who did the music for that? Do you know?
I have no idea. I forget. I'd have to look that up. But
yeah, that's interesting because I really enjoyed it. I just never knew the composer's name.
Yeah,
and I've always wondered. I'm like, like who? Because it was a great soundtrack. I will give you that, and I would like to see more from that franchise because it's interesting. They made a game out of it because it got such great reviews and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure, and they wanted to market, get more money out of the fans' pockets, I'm assuming. The game wasn't that great from what I've seen.
You're going to be surprised here. Junkie XL did it.
That's okay. That's completely fine with me.
So Junkie XL actually did the Deadpool and
he also was responsible for was it Batman v Superman?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. He was on
awesome.
that, I think. Yeah.
He's become like almost like the new John Williams. He of like big action movies.
John
and
Williams can never
movies.
Be replaced.
Well, he can never be replaced. Let's be honest here.
He's become but
the idea that like John Williams resigned from doing superhero movies from now on. I mean, how do you replace the Superman theme song? How do you replace so many other like countless songs? But I mean, the way like Junkie XL did the Fury Road, the idea of their score, like those big drums, the gung 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 gung, and then like of course there was that guy tied to the front of the truck who had these giant amps with a guitar that was also a flamethrower. Yeah, that's just awesome, hands down. I mean, I'm a guitarist myself, so looking at that, I was like, yes, I want it. But yeah, so overall, I think that's going to be my number 6 pick.
All right.
So with that, thank you all again for joining us. This has been Geek Week with Chris and Nick. Once again,
I'm Chris Natali.
And I'm Nick Rotundo.
Once again, if you'd like to hear any of our old episodes, guys, be sure to check out our YouTube account, which is posted on our Facebook, www.facebook.com/geekweek885. Be sure to like us on there, subscribe to our channel, share with all your friends and family. Really appreciate it. Be sure to check out our Instagram account as well at geekweek885.
And I promise this YouTube video will be up a lot sooner than last, since we will be on break. So this episode will be up probably tomorrow, maybe. We'll see. But I'll let you guys know on Facebook. But tune in again. Is it next week or 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's gonna be next week.
It is gonna be next week. So even though we have our Easter break, we'll see you guys next week after break. So be sure to look out for us there. Happy Easter, happy Passover. Chris, hope you have a good break. Hopefully we hang out during break.
Same with you. Happy holidays, guys, and enjoy.
That was Geek Week with Chris and Nick. Be sure to tune in next week at 6 p.m.